Okay, let's go ahead and start with introductions. It's really important for us to all get to know each other, especially as we build a movement here in Greenfield. So please share your name and where you're coming from today. And I will go ahead and begin. My name is Lucia Calderon. I am the organizer of Safe Schools, and thank you all for being here to continue to fight for safer pesticide use here in Monterey County and especially in Greenfield. Soy Lucia Calderon, organizadora de Safe Schools, nuestro grupo, y gracias por estar aquí para continuar la lucha de el uso de pesticidas más seguro aquí en el condado de Monterey y especialmente aquí en Greenfield.
Ya como que ya me introducí yo sola. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Erika Reola y estoy aquí en Lucía y es mi primera vez de conocerlos a todos ustedes en el movimiento de Greenfield para los pesticidas.
Y yo soy Mayra Sánchez, soy estudiante y tratando de aprender con escuelas seguras, agricultura segura, y me da gusto ver un grupo tan diverso. We're very excited to be here and see such a diverse group.
Hi, David Kong. I'm California School Employees Association, also some affiliations with the Democratic Party in Monterey County. Sorry, I didn't be able to say this in Spanish. Glad to be here, here to find out more information.
Thanks. Maybe over to Beatriz.
Yeah, Lydia is a community member for Greenfield for many years, since 1965. And I'm really happy that, the district from our school went ahead and passed unanimously.
Agreed.
My name is Irene Garcia. I'm a community member.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh,
Introduce
where are you
yourself.
from? Oh, okay, I'm Dred. I'm a photographer. I'm into community things. I'm amazed, and you try to get your best shot in your best hit. All right.
I'm Wes White, community enthusiast at large. Just really heavily into just human rights, and pesticides is definitely near and dear to my heart, just because there's so much energy and enthusiasm. I've been following this for a couple of years now. Yeah. Are you supposed to be interpreting this?
No.
Okay.
Hola, mi nombre es Juan Manuel Morán, soy representante de la Unión de Campesinos y ya tengo más juntas que no he venido pero es que mi trabajo a veces estoy aquí, a veces no en el área, y por eso muchas veces no puedo asistir. Okay? My name is Juan Manuel Morán. I'm a United Farm Worker, and I try to be here not on meetings, but sometimes I'm out of the area. That's why I can. But every time I can be here.
Good. Wonderful.
Hola, buenas noches a todos y a todas. Mi nombre es Yaneli Martínez, soy una de las concejales de aquí de la ciudad de Greenfield, porque somos 3 mujeres, bravo, por el poder femenino, y estoy involucrada con pesticidas ya buen rato desde que iba a Sacramento. Conducía, me nace más la pasión más que nada por mis hijos, porque son el futuro de mañana, y los demás estudiantes, pues no tenemos nada para ellos, entonces ¿en qué mundo van a vivir? No van a tener nada. So, everybody, my name is Yaneli, if you don't know me, and I am one of the 3 females as council members here in the city of Greenfield. So, welcome everybody to the heart of the valley.
Me llamo Andrés Bautista y vivo aquí. Y tengo un hijo estudiando aquí en la escuela Vista Verde, y otro tengo aquí high school.
Ahora sigue la pequeñita.
¿Qué grado? Yo soy Celia Quesada y soy miembro de aquí de la comunidad y yo estoy interesada también por mi hijo y he vivido aquí en el valle toda mi vida. Mis papás trabajaban en el campo y sé que ellos sufrieron mucho por los pesticidas y quiero ser parte de este movimiento, representar a mis papás y también a mi hijo. So my name is Celia Quesada, I'm a community member. I've been a community member all my life. I grew up here in the valley. I'm here because my parents were farm workers and I know how pesticides affected my parents, and I want to be there also for my son because I want him to have a possible brighter future.
Thank you. Before you go on,
Yes.
Sal Palma said to tell everyone hello. He
Oh,
can't be here today
Sal.
because he's celebrating his father's birthday, but he said hi. He said hi to everybody. He's already part of the team.
Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Thank you all for introducing yourselves. Well, we have one more person coming. Carlos, can you introduce yourself? We're just about to start.
Hola, buenas noches. Mi nombre es Carlos Vega. I'm community member for a long time. I want to take it out, bro. Lucia won't allow me to. I'm kidding.
You have to stay here and help us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so
You got a camera in the corner.
Yes.
So.
You can put it in the front. It's no problem.
so
Here, no policies.
the primary reason that we're here tonight is to celebrate the great victory that happened last week, which was the Greenfield School Board passing a resolution.
So, la razón más importante por la que estamos aquí es porque la semana pasada pasamos una resolución en Greenfield.
And this resolution is a symbol that the school supports our work and that they want to work with local and state authorities to create better protection zones around schools from pesticides and longer notification systems so schools can be notified ahead of time when pesticides will be applied nearby.
Esta resolución es muy importante para nosotros porque significa que ya las escuelas van a poder recibir notificaciones acerca de los pesticidas y y también obtuvimos un éxito en las zonas de protección.
And I will be showing a video of some of our speeches there later on, but first and foremost I wanted to make sure that we mentioned that.
También vamos a mostrarles el video de la resolución en unos momentos.
Another piece of news that we have is that in Monterey County there is a new agricultural commissioner, which is a good opportunity for us to get to know him, build relationships, and pick up where we left off with the old agricultural commissioner.
En esta ocasión tenemos un nuevo comisionado agrícola en el condado y es muy importante que lo lleguemos a conocer para poder crear nuevas relaciones que nos puedan beneficiar.
The agricultural commissioner, you can read more about him on page 3 in the handout. He actually worked in Monterey County for a very long time. He's from Monterey County, and we know that a couple of our community members actually met him today. So we've already got the ball rolling on creating a good, strong relationship with him. And actually he reached out to myself and Cesar from the Labor Council, and we'll be meeting with him next week.
En la página número 3 encontrarán información acerca del señor del comisionado y afortunadamente pudo contactar a Lucía y a César y ahora están trabajando juntos.
Lastly, I just want to make sure that everybody got a chance to look at our community response guides. These were created by Californians for Pesticide Reform, and they help denote what pesticide drift is, what the symptoms of pesticide exposure are, and what people can do if they believe that they're exposed to pesticides.
Lucía, ¿quieres cerciorarse que ustedes hayan adquirido un boletín donde habla acerca de las cosas, de los síntomas de los pesticidas y provee información acerca de cómo reportar y también provee de cómo identificar si ha sido expuesto a los pesticidas?
I'll pass them around. The most important part about these is it denotes people's rights. So people can read them and know their rights in reporting pesticide exposure as well as receiving medical attention. So I'll pass the English and Spanish versions around and grab one or a couple if you want to share them with other people.
Estamos pasando los boletines para que agarre uno, para que pueda conocer particularmente sus derechos y pueda agarrar más de uno si lo quiere compartir con otras personas en su familia, con personas que conocen.
And one really exciting piece of news that we have is that we are working with a expert who wants to help us create an app, like an application on your phone or on the web, where you can anonymously report pesticide drift and pesticide exposure.
Una de las buenas noticias que tenemos el día de hoy es que tenemos una persona que está interesada en hacer una aplicación para el teléfono celular inteligente donde las personas van a poder reportar los pesticidas a los que han sido expuestos y esperemos trabajar con eso.
So now, one thing that our group in Salinas has been pushing me to do for a while is to give a training on a really important tool that we can use to better visualize what pesticide use looks like in our area. And this is the pesticide use mapping tool that's created by the Department of Public Health.
So, una de las herramientas que tienen que ser, que las personas en Salinas han pedido que Lucía los introduzca es al mapa interactivo que pueden ver aquí en el pizarrón y es para determinar las áreas donde muchos pesticidas han sido aplicados y en qué áreas y cuánta cantidad.
Okay. Great. So this map can be accessed at www.cehtp.org/pesticide tool, and there are packets that I passed out to hopefully everyone that has instructions on how to use it. Unfortunately, it's only in English, but we can get it translated if that's something that the group wants to do.
So, Lucía pasó este paquete de papeles. En estos papeles se dan las instrucciones de cómo usar el mapa interactivo. El único detalle es de que están nada más las instrucciones en inglés, pero si ustedes prefieren las instrucciones en español, se podrían traducir.
All right, so first, this map is just so, it's so great. I'm so happy about it because you can look at data in so many different ways and look at so many different points of data using this map. It uses the data from the Department of Pesticide Regulation and overlays it over a map of California. So you get to look at pesticide use all the way down to the mile, which is very, very amazing.
So, el mapa nos permite ver diferentes tipos de información y de estadísticas y nos puede llevar hasta donde, hasta las partes más remotas y nos puede llevar hasta donde nos deja ver como cerca de la villa.
And it looks like my internet connection is slow. Sorry.
El internet ahorita no está funcionando muy bien, así que nos va a tomar un pequeño ratito recobrar señal para que pueda funcionar.
thing that you can do with this map is change the unit that you're looking at, the space. So you go up to options and you can switch between entire county, which I'm doing right now.
Aquí esto lo que Lucía ahorita está haciendo es de que en el mapa que ustedes ven está cambiando, está eligiendo un lugar diferente para poder ver los pesticidas que son aplicados en un específico lugar.
And right now we're looking at the county.
Y por ahora estamos viendo el condado.
So in the county of Monterey, we're looking at data from the year 2015 because that's that's the most recently available data. We can see that in 2015, like almost 8 million pounds of pesticides were applied in Monterey County.
Podemos ver que casi 8 millones de pesticidas fueron aplicados en el 2015 en el condado de Monterrey. Y la información que se les presenta es desde el año 2015 porque es la más reciente que hasta ahorita se tiene.
So now I'm going to zoom in and go down to Greenfield, and I'm going to switch so that I'm looking at sections that are 1 square mile. 1 square mile big.
Ahorita lo que está haciendo Lucía es mirar a Greenfield y está observando los niveles de pesticidas por milla que afectan esta área.
Okay, and so how to understand the colors that we're seeing. The dark red color means that it's the top 25% of pesticide use in the state. So basically the highest quarter of pesticide use in the state will show a red box. So we can see that around Greenfield there is, some of the highest pesticide use in the state surrounding Greenfield.
La forma en la que uno puede identificar qué es lo que está viendo es para fijarse en el cuadrito de abajo donde dice los colores de los pesticidas y el rojo significa que Greenfield tiene un 25% más de pesticidas al nivel estatal.
And for 2015 that means that every red box there were over 8,400 pounds of pesticides applied.
Y por cada cuadrito rojo que usted mira,
8,400.
8,442 libras de pesticidas fueron aplicadas en esa área.
Another great thing about this map is you can filter it and just look at specific chemicals that were applied or specific crops that chemicals were applied to.
Otra función que tiene el mapa es de que puede usted irse a las opciones, a la selección de opciones y puede buscar específicamente un pesticida que usted quiera buscar.
So you can look at different categories of chemicals like carcinogens or reproductive toxicants.
Ahí puede ver que puede escoger diferentes pesticidas que se clasifican como cancerígenos o que son dañinos para el desarrollo humano.
And I'm gonna go to a specific pesticide. One chemical that we're concerned about here in Greenfield is chlorpyrifos. You can look at specific chemicals. So I'm going to go ahead and look at that.
Uno de los químicos más importantes de observar es el chlorpyrifos, que es el que Lucía ahorita está poniendo en el mapa y es lo que podemos observar.
So the best thing about this map is you can press on the squares, you can press anywhere on the map and see how many pounds of pesticides were applied. So I know that the middle school is in this square right here. So I'm going to press on it.
Entonces, como pueden observar los cuadritos, si ustedes le aprietan al cuadrito puede salir más información acerca del nombre del pesticida, la cantidad que se aplicó y el lugar en donde fue aplicado. Y entonces ahorita lo que está haciendo Lucía es dándoles una información acerca de los pesticidas, específicamente el chlorpyrifos, que está localizado en la escuela de aquí de Greenfield.
Vista Verde.
Vista Verde, en la escuela Vista Verde.
So we can see that in 2015, over 600 pounds of chlorpyrifos were applied in the square that Vista Verde sits in.
Entonces, como se puede observar, más de 6,000 libras de pesticidas fueron aplicadas a donde está la escuela Vista Verde localizada en 2015.
And you can see that we can actually look at the top 10 pesticides used in every square, as well as a diagram that shows how pesticide use has changed over time. So I'm going to go ahead and click that so we can see what kinds of chemicals are applied around Vista Verde.
Ahora lo que hizo Lucía fue apretar la opción en donde uno puede ver los 10 principales pesticidas que son aplicados en esta área y le da información detallada del nombre de lo que es, de las categorías, de las libras, de los acres donde fueron aplicados y pues la cantidad.
So a really helpful function of this is that they group pesticides into categories according to what kind of health threat they've been identified to have. So for example, we can see that chlorpyrifos is what we call a cholinesterase inhibitor, which is also down here, Erica. And it's a fancy word for it harms the nervous system and the brain.
Si usted puede observar abajo de la gráfica, se observa una pequeña descripción de cada uno de los pesticidas y su clasificación. Y en este caso, como estamos viendo, clorpyrifos es uno de los pesticidas
inhibidores de la cholinesterase, which is fancy for it harms the nervous system.
I have to kick out somebody from there. This is my neighborhood. Really?
We also see that there is a chemical that is known to be a reproductive toxin as well. And you can also look at how the chlorpyrifos use has changed over time. We're still looking at chlorpyrifos, and you can see that some years there's no chlorpyrifos use, and other years there's really, really high chlorpyrifos use.
También se muestran las gráficas en donde se puede observar que en algunos años no había clorpyrifos, pero en algunos otros había mucho y como pueden ver en la gráfica había demasiado.
And this is really important because one argument that we hear right now from the County Agricultural Commissioner's Office is, well, there was barely any chlorpyrifos applied in 2016 and 2017, so we don't need to do anything about it.
Es importante saber acerca de esta información porque el argumento que se escucha es que en años anteriores muy poca cantidad de clorpyrifos fue aplicada en los años 2016-2017, pero no porque eso pasó significa que no es un problema.
Exactly, and so by looking at this information we can see, well, even if there are 1 or 2 years where chlorpyrifos wasn't applied, the trends show that it still spikes up, after a couple of years. So it's still concerning to us, and we still want to be, making sure that there are regulations and protections on this, even if there wasn't any use last year. What's going to happen next year?
Aunque no haya habido ningún tipo de aplicación los 2 años anteriores, eso no significa que sea una situación que nos debe de concerner, porque sin embargo las estadísticas demuestran que las aplicaciones han estado más altas durante más tiempo.
So that concludes the quick little tutorial of this tool, but I'm happy to sit down with any of you individually, or if you really want to know how many pesticides were used near a certain location, just call me or shoot me an email and I can definitely look that up for you or show you how to look it up yourself.
Si gustan aprender un poquito más acerca del mapa interactivo, pueden comunicarse con Lucía por medio de su correo electrónico o después de la cita si quieren sentarse con ella para que les explique un poquito más.
Okay. Any questions about this?
¿Alguna pregunta?
Yeah.
How much did you say the pesticides were around Vista Verde?
Here, let me go to all pesticides.
Necesitamos sacar a Shai de ahí. Bueno.
No es una Shai, es...
Ahí está alrededor. Shai.
Oh, yeah. No, pues Shai está allá, no puede.
Okay, this is the square that Vista is in. We can zoom in really far and see it right here.
Salinas Valley Farm.
11,000 pounds in 2015.
11 pounds.
And this And the high school is kind of in between the two squares. In this square, there were almost 14,000.
Oh, wow.
And that was 2015. Unfortunately, there's no data yet from 2016 or 2017. So, I mean, this is really concerning when we think about, and you can see, what kind of pesticides are applied. Oh, look, we have carcinogens, we have reproductive and developmental toxins, we have chemicals that are known to harm the nervous system and the brains. So I think this map does a really good job of visualizing the information and really showing you exactly where these chemicals are.
Este mapa interactivo nos da muy buena información acerca de cómo los pesticidas son aplicados, de su clasificación y de cuántos pesticidas han sido aplicados en esta área que son cancerígenos, que son malos para el desarrollo nervioso y para otras áreas.
Great, so that concludes the training. We were looking at chlorpyrifos because that's a chemical that we've been really concerned about. It was supposed to be banned nationally, but last year the new EPA under Trump decided to reverse that ban because they really like Dow, which is the company that produces the chemical.
Con eso se concluye el poquito entrenamiento que les dimos acerca del mapa interactivo y desafortunadamente pues el pesticida que más nos preocupa es el clorpyrifos y pues como el presidente dijo que no se puede prohibir porque les proporcionan beneficios la compañía que lo hace, es por eso que no hemos podido prohibir.
But we are still fighting to get chlorpyrifos banned here in California, in the state of California, as well as creating local restrictions by working with our county agricultural commissioners.
Pero aunque no se pueda nacionalmente, estamos luchando que el clorpyrifos se prohíba a nivel estatal y también estamos luchando para que nos den.
So next I want to go to cover the media that we have been successful in getting recently. I know Yaneli was working on this op-ed for a really long time. We were trying to find a place to get it published, and it got published in Salinas 93905, which is an online news source, and you can read that on page 5, and there's a translated version on page 6 as well.
Okay, so a continuación vamos a hablar acerca de los medios de comunicación y la primera cosa que vamos a hablar es acerca del artículo de opinión de Yaneli que fue publicado en uno de los online, que fue publicado en un periódico en el internet y en la página 5 tienen el artículo en inglés y en la página 6 comienza donde está traducido al español.
Was the Spanish also published?
No. No, it was just translated by Eric.
Lucia, one of us can do this and this report.
Yeah. Where's the sign-in sheet?
Oh, right here.
Can you pass that up?
Right there.
You're buried.
Need an ID too?
Yes.
Oh, the other one, that one is for a little bit later.
So you don't need that one yet.
I have a question before we get into this, if I can just go back a step. On the training you gave?
Yeah.
Is it possible to correlate that with ill children in significant areas based on the amount of usage in drugs?
Yeah.
Chemicals?
What?
The ill children that have particular problems, and correlate that with the use of chemicals that we know cause a certain type of problem. So nervous disorder, so let's check that certain school because there's a high use of, and can we, because we're alleging, now can we prove it?
Well, I can tell you that in Soledad Unified, we have above, what is it? There's a percentage rate of how many students go through the whole RSP, which is students with learning disabilities, and we are above the national average. So
Because we have the problem, I mean, here Greenfield has the high use of these chemicals, and we have these numbers pop up. Gonzales has the same situation. In Elsa High School, they're actually fired the nurse that has any training that can provide the skill. And they're,
But obviously, I mean, there's that information, but to tie it in and have an actual proof.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, is, all
No,
right, it's good, but let's work it.
That's a question that that always comes up, and it's something that we really want to put together. I've had people that are like trying to do a report looking at special ed enrollment in schools and pesticide use, but apparently it was really hard to find that data for every school. Yeah, there are regulations that protect the identity of people, so it's hard to get that specific information. Like you can't know where someone lives, so you can't correlate it with pesticide use, or something like that. Is what I've heard.
Yeah, but a lot of studies, like the tobacco studies, they use this to know how much pesticides were used. Or like the study that was done in the Central Valley that looks at birth abnormalities, or birth abnormalities, what they call it, anything, weight, miscarriage, early birth, being preterm.
Okay, so how about
they correlated with use of pesticides, for instance, those that are reproductive toxins. So
But why don't we try to get them through like the hospitals or Stanford or?
Yeah, I think that there is some data that can be obtained through the hospitals, like ER visits, or I don't know, but I think there might be ways. That's definitely something that I've been really interested in exploring. It's a matter of time and who's going to put the time into it. If that's something that this group wants to, kind of make a subcommittee for and get done, then I'd be happy to help.
Since it's public money on some of these young kids, possibly we can track it through the social services department, because there's special needs money. So that's public information. We don't need the person's, real contact, just the numbers and where the location is at. We'll figure it out from there. But just give us something to hold on to, and then we could research it and backtrack it to that particular school. I mean, there's only so many grammar schools in these towns,
Yeah, I think it's a good point.
But anyways, public money, we have the right to know, hey, so much of it's going to that school district, this school district, that, when they used to have these, sadly they called MR classes back in the day. Everybody knew exactly how much money was going to where, and the budgets, and it's all in the budgets. So if you look at it, the state gives you that money.
Well, one of the good things is that they passed a resolution here in Greenfield, and I know that school districts usually send surveys to parents to fill out, and it's for district to get information. And since now the district is on board, what if they're willing to send out a survey for parents to fill out? Do you see these? What do you see your child facing? Does he suffer from this? And that, that's kind of information that ties into the way the chemicals affect.
Good idea.
Yeah, to self-identify.
Yeah.
I think the response rate would be the difficult.
Yeah. Well, I'll bring these ideas, back and think on it. There's actually someone at CRLA that is like, hey, Lucia, let's find a way to track special ed rates with the pesticide use and compare it to special ed rates at a school that doesn't have as much pesticide use nearby, and do that. So it's definitely in the works. We're just how are we going to do it? So thanks for the ideas. I wrote them down, and we're going to explore it more.
Well, it's the worst problem. There's no special ed here in Monterey County. For long years ago, there's no special service for our kids. This is the problem, the first problem. The second problem, you can afford, or you can go to all the programs, campañas. One program here, Chuparrosa, is complex that the parents to make service to these kids because the county does not have it.
Yeah, and apparently there's also, what I've heard from teachers in Watsonville is there are so many kids that they think, should have these services, but the process of even going through the paperwork and, doing the
steps.
Yeah, the evaluation and actually, getting it finalized, that doesn't always get done. So it might be underreported, the amount of students that are, having difficulties. Does that make sense?
Maybe, but it's still part of public record, and the board of trustees have to okay all this stuff. And, there's ways of tracking them.
You have a trunk ball, my friend, to jump around.
No, I still want to fight to see if we can.
I be in the school system, the volunteer for 25 years. So I see the barrier, especially with the special service. When you need a special service here, you have to travel to Salinas.
Office of Education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It don't make sense to me. It's a lot of money, a lot of federal money coming to this city is not allowed money to serve this kind of people.
But one thing is good that I think the superintendent is now paying attention to today that I saw her for career day. She actually asked if we're going to be able to bring you for one of the forums that she wants to do with the community. So that's good that we prepare the community to come and ask these questions there on the spot, having her present, having Lucia present with all that information. I think it's going to be perfect.
Well, it says it's good effort, so only I have to work with the parents.
Yeah.
Because too many of the parents, but I know, is afraid. Yeah, I don't want to see nobody there. It struck me like
because a lot of them are afraid of retaliation in the past, and
well,
Ms. Diaz could talk about that. They're just afraid that if you ask, something's going to happen to you or your child. You're always going to be labeled as a problematic parent.
I hope so, yes, change all the system here in Greenfield. Well,
I think it's changing little by little.
Well, speaking of the school board, I think that it would be really great for us to look, to watch a little bit of the meeting that happened last Thursday. I mean, if we were there to, bask in the victory and hear, the great points that we had, and if we weren't there, to see what it was like. And on page 8, actually, a press release that Yaneli and Sorangel and Sonia from the school board and I worked on together. It got published in not only the Greenfield, what is it called, the Greenfield News, but also like the Soledad B, the King City.
Well, they're all together though.
Yeah. Well, lucky for us, they posted them all everywhere. So we got we got that published in a couple different local newspapers. But I don't have speakers that work with this computer, so we're going to have to just use my computer speakers. Maybe, Wes, could you maybe close the door just for outside noise?
While he's doing that, may I ask, what was the outcome of the Herald or the Coast Weekly and California?
Nothing from them, so we're going to talk later about what we can do about
No reply or no?
No reply, nothing.
The
only people that were the Greenfield News and then KRKC.
Yeah, KRKC did, yeah.
Telemundo and Univision and anything else?
So far, that's it.
Yeah, I have the Telemundo video queued up, but the link, it updated and now it's the news for the 15th, yesterday, instead of last Thursday, so I don't have that link anymore. But this will show us, what actually went down.
The guy in the corner sometimes is fun to sleep.
He was actually our best ally.
He had the best comments and the best
Mr. Smith?
questions. Yes.
You kidding.
I was so surprised. Okay. And just to preface any comments in this, there was a big ruckus at the beginning because one of the school board members absolutely denied Wes's ability to video record at a side angle where they could see people's faces. So there was a big blow up at the beginning. They called the police. It was absolutely ridiculous. But Wes moved to the back and we still got it on video, and I'm so thankful for that. So if there are any comments made, about the video or the board being not so friendly, that's what it's about.
Well, I told you, Nelly, it wasn't a city council meeting.
That are harming him and gave him that asthma.
First told me, girl.
Good evening, Madam Chair. I understand you're a little bit frustrated. We're just trying to work together. I mean, everything is being filmed, it's being recorded, it's visualized, it's talked. The only thing he wanted to do was film for his documentary. and everything is getting out of hand, and I'm embarrassed that this is happening right now, that we can't even act like human beings. The whole reason why I'm here is to talk about peligrosos, which is one of the pesticides that's near schools. And I don't like the eye rolling, Myra. You need to be a little bit more professional and look at me when I'm talking to you. Because I'm here to talk to you about the students that you guys represent. The students like my son, like other kids that we represent. You guys mentioned that this is not a school board issue, that this is a city issue. Then we let you know that, you know what, let me tell you, a family member or no one that can do something about it, and you guys. So the health of our children is in your hands. Me as a council member, I cannot do anything. That's why I'm frustrated. That's why I've been seeking, and I thank to state schools that have been educating me on these horrible pesticides, especially clear. My son just had an asthma attack over at Vista Verde, like some of you might know. Right now, it's still at the Ag Commissioner's desk. It's being investigated, and that investigation is going to take 3 weeks until they're able to tell me what pesticides were sprayed the night before that are harming him, that gave him that asthma attack. He ended up in the hospital. So for me, I don't take my child's health lightly, and that's why I'm here advocating, and I'm thinking that you guys are all smart, especially being women, celebrating Women's Day today, that you guys are going to be smart and take the right direction towards pesticides. And even you, Mr. Board Member Smith, even though you're not a woman, but you can still make the smart decision and protect our children. And that's why I'm here, just go ahead and let you guys know that this is something that needs to be done, and I hope you guys do vote yes on this, because it's not for you guys, it's not for me, it's for our children, our future. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
At the start of the show.
But Madam Carson, so to speak, on different behalf on pesticides, maybe you can at least move the guy to a location he can at least see our faces. But otherwise, besides that, I'd like to talk about you guys accepting the resolution for pesticides, because it not only does it harm us, it harms our crops, our animals, and our environment, the air we breathe, and the crops we eat. So one of these pesticides that is sprayed on the fields is clear-paraphos, which was invented by the Nazis to kill people. But nowadays in fields it's being sprayed at gallons, like a lot of gallons sprayed on one field just to get a couple of insects off our crops. And the remaining gases from that spray drift off in different directions, in which some are in the way of schools, which kids outside, and classes and teachers, some which might be pregnant and that could damage their babies in the future. And that's why I'm happy to see that you have accepted the resolution that Club Coradia has brought on to the board. And that is why I am here today to tell you that it is a bad thing, but we can at least regulate how much of it is sprayed on the field and at what times it has to be sprayed. Because there's kids already at 6:30 in the morning walking to school, and if there's some helicopters out there spraying loads of gases on there that can harm them, it's bad. So at least time regulation and amounts controlled, that can help us a bit. Thank you.
I wish he was here so we
He
could all.
wanted to come, but he's so sick. He's battling his cold again. And that day he was sick himself. And just to clarify, people keep on asking me, when he grabbed that paper, was it what he was reading? And I said, no, it was the agenda. He memorized everything.
Yeah, it didn't look like he was reading off.
No, he didn't.
We had a couple other people. I know Juan was there, Carlos was there, Beatriz, Irene, Ruby, David, Wes, and Red. Of course, we're all there as well. And we had some other great speeches. Just for the interest of time, sorry, Juan and Carlos, I'm not going to show your
speeches.
But I did want, for me it was so surprising to hear what Trustee Smith had to say, so I thought it might be good to share what he said, because he did mention that he called the grower and told them, hey, there's this resolution that's coming to the school board. I have some questions about it. I want to talk to you. You're welcome to come to the meeting. It's Thursday, March 8th. And they didn't show up. And he said, you'll hear him soon, but he said, in my experience, that means that they're trying to hide something. And then he said, I'm all for this resolution. And
at least he did something good. Oh my gosh, that guy.
You did his homework.
It's about time we did something.
Yeah, last Monday, I had this over the weekend, and I had quite a few questions regarding what's going on here. So I figured I would visit our neighbor over at Vista, the big wine company over there. And I went over there, and they gave me the individual's name, Mr. Gonzalez. That's the guy who's in charge of all the spraying. You know what? Apparently he didn't want to talk. Okay, so my experience, people who don't want to talk usually are hiding something. Okay, so but I did have a concern. So I'm for it. However, I am concerned about the two words that is in here, which is concerning buffer zone. What is the distance of the buffer zone? The reason why I'm concerned is this. The agriculture were there, they were there first. We moved into their area, okay? How far is that buffer zone from the fence to the classroom? Because we do currently have a preschool and 11 classrooms right next to that fence, okay? And the other thing is, what chemicals are they using over there, okay? And that's one of the things that I have requested, and they didn't want to give up that information. So I do have concerns. We do need to make contact and see what are they doing and what are they doing, what hours, okay? I have never seen them spray during the daytime when they're schooling, so my guess, and also there's no helicopters can fly at night. So if they are doing spraying at night, it would be on a tractor. There's a guy driving the tractor. I don't know if he's wearing a spacesuit out there, or I have no idea. I see nighttime out there, to be honest with you.
He later, at the very end, right before they all unanimously voted yes on this resolution, he repeated, we need to know when they're spraying because there's a preschool, I believe at the middle school, right, at Vista.
Yeah.
And he said, and we need to know if we need to go and spray down all the toys that are outside if they have an application. Hose them off, exactly. So that showed me that he was taking it really seriously.
Yeah.
And I think that it was so important that we were all there. That we showed them that we want this information to be public and that we want their meetings to be public and shown, because they very well could have just said, nah, this resolution, we have too many questions about it, we don't want to look at it. And if we weren't there to really stand up, then this couldn't have passed. And it's
You even
so
had
great.
the trustee ask the company rep to show up, and then he asked from publicly, and the company rep didn't show up.
It's like, Mr. Gonzalez, are you there? That was my favorite part. But this is an amazing victory. Yeah, Irene.
I have a comment.
Yeah.
One of the school board members called me because I have her daughter in my class, and she was upset because we were all there with signs, and she wanted to say, she asked, well, why did you guys come in so aggressively? And I'm like, really? I said, the only reason, if you think that it was aggressive, I said, is when people come in and they're going to vote on something, they don't know how you're going to vote. They want to assure,
to pass.
you board members, you know, how we feel.
You were marketing it.
Yeah. And I says, so it's not aggressive. Well, you know, she's specific about the cameraman. And I says, you know what? That's an issue with.
Aggressive
cameraman.
That's a distraction though, because like, from the history that I heard was like, it tried to get on the agenda a couple times and it got knocked away. So it's like, well, of course we're going to expect opposition.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that, you know, like I told her, you guys have, the board has an issue recording the meetings, first of all. And if you put yourself to think about it, why? You know, why? Because there's always negative comments being made, and you don't want that recorded. So, you know, she just goes, oh, well, you know, I thought it was really in poor taste. And I says, no, you haven't seen anything. You go somewhere else, you'll see things where people throw, you know, I've seen where people throw orange peels and stuff at the board, you know, or that kind of thing. So I says, you're very lucky.
Well, thank you for responding like that.
This person, this is not your job for you. Step away.
Well, yeah, we're hoping that.
It's too big, the position for you. Honestly.
But board meetings are public meetings.
Honestly, I be a board member. I former a board member.
That's why I don't understand.
I know what it says. But this person thinking on that, in this form, stepping away because he's not reflect his job is doing now. Because he has to be very knowledge to all these things. I'm sorry for what's happened with you in my town, man. I'm sorry.
It's par for the course in quite a few public settings, to be honest. But that's the first time I've ever been refused a side angle. And, you know, I mean, I tried to accommodate, but it was very clear and apparent just in the very first reactionary sentence of, you know, can I video on the side? And the secretary was like, no, your place is in the back.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I already knew there was opposition, and then feeling that, it was like, okay, let's bet. Let's see what happens. You know, and I guess, yeah, no, I was a little upset. I did everything I could not to cuss, to be honest. But, because I've never been treated like that.
Yeah, it was awful.
So we're finding that they realized that you could videotape, is that?
You know, I moved to the back. I volunteered to move to the back, just to...
Well, you haven't seen nothing yet.
But did you try getting approval for recording in the front?
Yeah, before the meeting started, I gave a card, introduced myself.
Did you go before, like days before, or the day
No,
before?
no.
Power and control, that's what it is on that.
Just to per se ask before, you know what I mean?
Right, and I'm sorry to have distracted from, you know, the whole point of being there, which was a resolution.
Hey, we ended up on top, and I think that that's what really matters.
I just want to share a beautiful comment that I think is so special. Once we were blasting this all over the place on Facebook, Ms. Heckman, she went into my page and she posted, and like many of you know Ms. Heckman, some of you guys don't know, she's a teacher, a long time resident and teacher here in Greenfield, and she's battling cancer. And she said, thank you guys for pushing for this, and thank you to Trustee Heredia for bringing it to the table. I do believe that that's why I got sick. But district, I'm not going to sue you guys, but I'm proud of you guys. So those words came out of her, and it was just special. Wow. And she was celebrating with us.
Yeah, and it's nice because, and it's not, I mean, and the issue is that her class is right behind those grapes where they spray. So I'm sure that's why her cancer reoccurred. As she says already, she's probably like, her blood count is so low, it's not. So she sees herself as not making it this year.
Of this.
Well, let's Ms. Heckman, right?
Yes.
Let's keep her in our thoughts and
Positive
prayers.
vibes.
And that resolution was in honor of her. I think that we all deserve to give ourselves one more round of applause. Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, I am sorry, I just got out of work.
No worries, thanks for
so
being here.
I'm very busy. My name is
chopping
Fabiola.
with the kids.
Yeah, workshop. So, yeah, my name is Fabiola. I work with the community science workshop. I run the drop-in center and former local firefighter. Yeah, so now I just work for the community, and I would love to find out what else I could do in regards to this, to the pesticide issue and the ag.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Awesome. So one thing that Juan mentioned was, so did this get in the Californian? Did this get in the Herald? What about these bigger local newspapers? Did they pick it up? They didn't pick up our press release, but that doesn't mean that we can't keep pushing them to get this information out there. One thing that we've been really successful doing in the Salinas and Watsonville area is letters to the editor, which is like 150 to 200 words that you send in, and they are often in response to a piece that's already been published, but in this case it can be in response to a piece that's published in another paper, or even saying like, this should be covered. So I was thinking that doing some letters to the editor on behalf of this resolution and sharing that and saying, hey, this is something that districts, you know, throughout Monterey County should be doing. I think that would be a really good idea. So is there anyone who's willing to write a letter that can be sent to the Californian or the Herald or Monterey County Weekly or something like that? I really like writing, is my favorite thing about this job, so I am very happy to help you write that as well. Yeah, please.
I can help too.
And that was Celia?
I'd rather not, but you could put it, a lot of reasons why, but you could put it in a soapbox, which is 650 words.
Soapbox, so like more like an op-ed?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
op-ed
that's
too,
a
so we
bigger,
can work
more,
on something more.
you know, it's not just a little couple.
Well, Yaneli did a piece on in the Greenfield, right? You did a writing on the Greenfield News, right?
Which piece?
La que escribiste aquí.
That was not on the Greenfield one. That was online from an independent journalist. The other one was just the piece that the press release. It was like little pieces.
You were quoted in it though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, Beatriz, Celia, anyone else?
I'll do it.
Yes, awesome. Okay, and then another thing that I think would be good to get back in the media is when Cesar Chavez Day comes up. So last year, Cesar Chavez Day also marked the day that Trump and Scott Pruitt decided to reverse the ban on chlorpyrifos nationally. So in Salinas, we had a big press conference, and it actually gained the most media attention that any SASS event had ever gotten before.
Wow.
So it was like kind of a big deal. And we had speakers from all over the place come. And I think that on Cesar Chavez Day, there are so many different issues that are going to be very much at the forefront. UFW is really leading that. And you know, the big issues are ICE, DACA, immigration. So we don't want to step on those issues by like kind of doing another big event. But what we really want to do is make sure that this is in the media while we're supporting, you know, the other issues actually in person. So I'm also happy to help people work on letters, you know, kind of commemorating that year anniversary of a pretty terrible thing, but also honoring Cesar Chavez and kind of responding to all those articles that got published last year. Is anybody interested in that?
So
anybody? Go ahead.
I just don't understand. It's to write a letter, excuse me. So it's to write another letter for newspapers, or
Yeah, that would go to like the Salinas Californian or the Monterey County Herald, or even here in Greenfield, a Greenfield news source. They will, if you send in letters, like basically they're, as I mentioned, like 150, 200 words, or you could do something that's more like an op-ed or a soapbox that's 600 or more words. You just send them to the editor, and they will often publish them in the letter to the editor or opinion section of the newspaper. So for here, we were saying that it would be really good to write letters about this to get published in a newspaper, but I'm proposing that we also write letters about Cesar Chavez Day and that marking the 1-year anniversary of this terrible environmental regulation rollback, where now we have to see more chlorpyrifos being applied.
So then if you want, I could do the bottom one, since there's already 3 on top.
Okay,
and then if someone can help me, that.
Yeah, I can definitely help you. Juan, are you volunteering?
I'll help you with both.
You'll help with both?
Yeah, you know, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So are there any newspapers here in Spanish? Or
El Sol.
even?
Yeah, the Californian does El Sol, which is the Spanish version of the Californian, so that's a good idea. We should do like at least 1 or 2 of those letters in Spanish and send them there.
La Bamba también.
Are there any other places besides El Sol?
La Ganga.
La Ganga?
Bamba.
Bamba.
El Tianguis?
Yeah.
It's the same. Bamba and Tianguis is the same.
Okay.
La Ganga too, isn't it? So they still have that? I don't
Great.
know.
That's awesome. Thanks for volunteering, everyone. And then also, we have had like so many great ideas over the past, what is it now, 4 meetings that we've had here. And I'm working on getting those coming to fruition. One opportunity that we've been presented with, Safe Ag Safe Schools and statewide Californians for Pesticide Reform has been pushing the Department of Pesticide Regulation for a really long time to have a staff person that's focused on environmental justice. So basically someone who's going into communities that are particularly burdened by pollution or environmental problems and trying to involve the community in improvements of those problems, just like pesticide exposure. And other environmental agencies have these people already, but DPR is the only one that didn't. So we thought that it would be really good to get somebody in there that specifically focuses on community outreach. And they actually did just hire somebody. Her name's Martha Sanchez. She's worked for DPR for quite a while, doing outreach and speaking at events and tabling and stuff. So now she's moving up to this bigger environmental justice staff position. And we have asked her to come meet with us. And she says that she wants to come to the Salinas Valley the 2nd week of May. So that gives us, luckily that gives us some time to plan. But I wanted to know from you guys, what are our ideas? Let's brainstorm on what we could do with her. Do we want to give her a tour somewhere? Should she come to Greenfield? Should she go to Salinas? Where should she go? What are some of your ideas?
Vista Verde. That's one thing. Give her a tour of Vista Verde.
And Greenfield High.
So I have a question just about it's sort of tangential to this. The preschool, so the report that was made, the one he published, is it K-12 or is it just elementary and high school? Because I had never heard that there was a preschool there.
Do you mean the Department of Public Health report?
Yeah.
That looked at pesticide use around schools?
Yeah, because I mean it's even more concerning to preschoolers because they're younger than to the high school students.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was the first time that I heard about the preschool being out of middle school, and at first I was like, oh, well, duh, that makes sense. I don't think that Department of Public Health report includes preschool. I think it's K-12.
Because isn't it supposed to include sensitive areas, which are schools and
Are you talking about the Department of Pesticide Regulation?
I mean, just in general, when they're studying the use of pesticides. I mean, the reasons why they did a report on schools are the same reasons why, what they call like a sensitive area, right? School or daycare centers, child care centers. So preschool should be included in that report, no?
Definitely. So just to distinguish between 2 things. In 2014, there was a Department of Public Health report that came out that basically said it was the first report ever that looked at pesticide use around public schools. And it basically presented, this is actually a huge public health problem, and guess what county has it the worst? Ding, 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 Monterey County. They found that Monterey County had the highest percentage of students attending these highly exposed schools. It's 1 in 4 students in Monterey County, which is like the highest percentage in the state. And that just looked at K through 12 schools. However, that study led us to fight and work with the DPR, the Department of Pesticide Regulation, the body that has the authority to regulate pesticides, to get buffer zones and notification at schools. We fought for a 1-mile buffer zone and 1-week notification, and in this January 1st, 2018, their regulation was finalized. They are 1/4-mile buffer zones from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday around not only public schools but state licensed child care facilities. So these new protections that we've been talking about, these 1/4-mile buffer zones, they're going to be in effect within a 1/4 mile of all state licensed child cares as well as public schools. However, there's a lot missing from those rules. What about pesticide applications happening early in the morning or later in the afternoon. You know, we have sports, we have kids coming to daycare really early, we have Saturday schools and things going on the weekends, and not to mention just the fact that these chemicals persist in the environment for sometimes more than a week. So we're really concerned about that, and these are the kind of concerns that we want to be bringing up to Martha Sanchez at the DPR. She's working at an administration that can actually change things. Idea?
Regarding her visit, maybe we could set it up at San Gerardo.
San Gerardo?
Yeah, it's surrounded by fields.
Yeah.
Where's what's San Gerardo?
It's a farm labor cooperative, and it's had contaminated wells with pesticides and stuff. And
the water.
And the water, and it has a big.
It's here in Greenfield?
No, it's in Salinas. Centrally located, I think, for a lot of people to be able to make that.
The way that
You can tour the whole day. You can tour through here, end up with an evening meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
You end up with an evening meeting. You can start in King City, show her the dams, how the river flows, and everything goes down because everything ends up in the water. It ends up contaminating our aquifers. Ends up headed that way. As an example, here's San Gerardo, which have water contamination, surrounded by pesticides, a lot of wind, and it's a prime place for show and tell, because the people right there, they would all show up, they'll pack that place.
Especially here in the afternoon when the wind's blowing.
Yeah. It's right in the middle of the valley, so it'll hit the wind, that's for sure.
I'm thinking that like a kind of a van tour would be really cool if we put her in a 12-passenger van and get, 11 of our most vocal people in the car with her and take her to Greenfield and then go up to Salinas and then maybe even over to Watsonville because we have an air monitor over there and teachers that will speak really locally on that. So San Gerardo is a great spot. I think she definitely needs to see Vista and Greenfield, and we need to have that data with us that we see on those maps. So driving through the valley would probably be good. And she just gave the second week of May, but we still need to figure out like a day. Do any of you have like a good day that really works well?
Not Tuesday or Thursday, usually they're meetings.
Well, we could, that's the second week, yeah, so Fridays? Fridays are best?
Yeah, Friday's good, yeah, and I think a Friday where people get paid, because people have money to pocket. And we all laugh out.
Pay for the top one.
It all makes us smile, right? We're all smiling, laughing.
Yeah, your mood is a little bit better for some reason on payday.
Payday's a good day for meeting, people want to go out and do stuff, right? It gets them on the list, get out and about. You wait till the end of the month, it's like, hey, they're down to the last penny, I ain't got no gas, I'm gonna wait till my next paycheck.
Okay.
So that's one reason, I like that one, and it just
Friday
helps.
payday. Awesome.
¿Ya no hay más traducción en español, Lucía?
No, are we all okay with English?
No, para mí, yo.
Okay. ¿Sí? ¿En serio?
I was kidding.
Okay.
I'll call you later and tell you what all.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to be there.
But Erica has done a really great job, right?
Yes.
I make a little break. No, tú puedes.
Gracias.
Okay, and then the last thing that I want to talk about is, our next big event. So, the possibilities are endless when I say that. To give a little bit of context, I know a few of us have been going to Sacramento. I mean, what did we do last summer?
Take a bus.
We went to Sacramento. What were we talking about?
I go for you.
Okay, yeah. And then what did we do the summer before that in 2016? Yeah, we went to Sacramento and we were advocating for buffer zones, and that was like in the thick of this buffer zone fight. And literally 2 months after that trip to Sacramento, the DPR was like, okay, here is the regulation. Here's our first draft. So that was a huge success. Going to Sacramento last summer was a huge success because pretty much immediately after that, the DPR was like, okay, we'll go through the bureaucratic process and do a new, what is it called? Risk assessment of chlorpyrifos. So we put them into action as well. And now we're just kind of like, in the middle of this chlorpyrifos thing, starting to go and put pressure on our local ag commissioners. We have, consistently been following up with the state and going up to Sacramento as they go through their scientific process of chlorpyrifos. So we're trying to think of, we need to do something this summer. I think the time is ripe. At the last couple meetings, everyone's like, we need to do something. So now is our time to really start thinking about what that could be. I think that a local event that is kind of in collaboration with other groups just like us all throughout the state, where we kind of all did a rally, press conference on the same day in different locations. I think that would be really cool. So I wanted to hear your ideas. Where should we do our event? What should it be focused on? Just whatever your heart desires. I want to get the ideas on paper.
Let's look at Juan.
Have an event right here in
Greenfield. I like that idea. Where could we do something? Where could we do a big press conference rally where we have speakers and signs?
The city hall, gazebo, Patriot Park is pretty wide.
Lucia, I got a question for you. You keep in contact with the Father Enrique?
Oh gosh.
I talk to our diocese.
Because this is a good piece to keep in contact.
Yeah.
Because there's too many people around him, and when he calls, everyone attends. And
Reach out to Father Enrique.
Yeah.
For the turnout, for the people, you mean, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I need the people. I need a comment. All the people together from the Greenfield to let them know what's going on. It's not enough to. I know what's going on. One, and Nayeli is no, pero who else?
Audelia from Líderes, she could be your contact with.
Who?
Audelia from
Audelia y Soraka.
Sí, pues más bien Audelia porque Soraka creo que también no está muy buenos términos. Audelia.
Okay, question. City Hall, you said City Hall gazebo, is that the same thing?
No,
Or do you mean Patriot Park?
There's 3
gazebo?
different spots that it would be able to host a lot of people. That's what we want.
Yeah.
We want everybody to participate.
Gazebo is a separate place.
Yes.
In Patriot Park, because there's gonna be families taking their kids to the park and they're gonna, oh, what's this?
Come for a treat. Come.
Yeah. Ideas? One?
Well, the risk of doing a Patriot Park is that it's a big place and it looks half empty. You need a couple of thousand people to make that happen. 100 for us would be very impressive. If we get a couple of 100 people there, but it'll look empty still on the outside, anybody driving by.
Would the gazebo be better for that?
What's the capacity of the
The idea I
gazebo?
have is not regarding the location. The idea right now is regarding the big event thing. Because 2 things that we can take advantage of. One is that this lady's new and she wants to find out and get up to date and get the one-on-one. The other thing too, in terms of big event, is we have a new ag commissioner.
Yeah.
And we should host the new ag commissioner.
Yeah. Wait, can we?
And that new ag commissioner is a local guy from Salinas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend that is related to him, so, and she's really been active, so we definitely have a few ins, absolutely.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay.
He's also one of the co-founders of Lowrider Magazine.
Yeah, so then you know him.
And the new Rivals Car Club.
Gonzalez?
And the new Rivals Car Club.
Yep.
So then you guys go way
From
back.
Salinas.
Yep, and he started working with the short handle hose, so
Yeah.
he's really an advocate, from what I hear.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. Maybe he could be one of our speakers. I don't know, we'll see. Great, those are great ideas, and at our next meeting, we can further formulate on those and keep, getting into more specifics, like what is the theme and what kind of, do we want to turn in a petition? Do we want it to mark any sort of special event or occasion or something like that? We can talk more about that later. The last thing that I wanted to...
Well, before you get to the last
July
thing.
again?
Oh, sorry, we didn't talk about when. When?
It better be before you leave.
Yeah.
Not after.
What day?
No, it won't be
June.
after. So for the whole group, just so you know, I got into grad school, so I won't be in this position in the fall. So an event in like June would be perfect, like early June.
Yeah.
would be really perfect.
You know what? You start something, you have to finish.
There you go. I'll make sure that we have a great finish. But of course, like, there's going to be somebody who will replace me. That person hasn't been found yet, but let's keep, you know, everyone. I really
Positive
appreciate
vibes.
you all keeping in mind who it could be. Start thinking about it. Who could you know, take over leadership of this group. So it's going to be a community effort.
Is she an intern?
Erica's an intern, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
That's what I'm saying.
Pass the
Come on
torch.
down, Erica.
So it transfers, so you got half the job.
We have a great opportunity with the story that I see that was written, that came out in the newspaper and stuff, and you know, we should all take responsibility to make a presentation on each one of the school boards throughout the entire Salinas Valley, because some of it is videotaped, not all of it. It does end up in everybody's minutes, so every administrator and people who are involved with schools would read it. Nancy Katowski for sure get a heads up on it. So I think it's a great opportunity. Just to, you know, we get a 3 minutes at the beginning as a community comment. Doesn't even have to be an agenda item. It would just go say congratulations, and this is something we will be coming to make a presentation to you about. And this is what we did in Greenfield. Just a quick intro and the benefits and why they all voted yes. They're all going to research it, then we'll push to get it on the agenda.
Yeah.
But that's not a special event, but an ongoing.
An ongoing.
Make sure we take care before you leave.
Yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a comment, Sadie?
I did. I got really sick for a while, and I had promised you about going to Soledad. But I wanted to let you know that I did speak to 2 board members, and they said just put it on the agenda, and that they're willing. So I also spoke to my dear friend who's running for, oh my God, I have the new county superintendent, Deneen Gus.
Yeah.
And she's totally all for it. She said that she would be willing to come to the school board if we got on the agenda to come listen. And she, you know, obviously can't go public yet because, you know, she's still running for office. But she definitely wants to get more informed. And
Awesome. Thanks. Let's get that ball rolling then. And we already have a resolution written, which is the best part. Okay, great. Any last comments on this? I have one more thing that I wanted to bring up to folks.
Did you pick a day, second week of May, or do it later?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to invite everyone to march that we want to have on April 8th. So we don't have flyers already, but the next meeting,
¿Dónde es?
Salinas, Cesar Chavez Park.
Banderitas incluidas. It's a march for.
Well, that's every year we celebrate the Cesar Chavez Day, and we try to celebrate close to the birthday. So.
It's on a Sunday, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's why we changed to it because it's the 31st. 31st year is the birthday. That's the what do you say? Cuaresma and Easter. So that's why we changed to April 8th.
La caminata. Prepárense. Buen ejercicio.
So we have meetings every 2 weeks. I think the next meeting is next Tuesday in the Salinas office. And we have already different organizations. So because everybody right now is trying to help like DACA, immigration, all the things, and that's we have already like 3 or 4 or more organizations. So we invite the other unions too. To try to make a big march.
Great, thanks, Juan. And I'll put the notes for that and anything I can find online in the notes and send it out to folks.
At what time is the April 8th?
I get there.
10 o'clock in the morning.
11. We put like a time, but we start like 11.
Once there's like the max amount of people and energy. Yeah, that's what it's called.
And there's some planning meetings, right? There's some some planning meetings beforehand, so maybe somebody, if they're interested, they can go and we can be part of the planning.
Yeah, I'm going to give you the flyer and you can get the send to everybody. I think we're going to have ready tomorrow, the flyer.
Okay.
So I can give you,
Cool.
send it to you and you'll send it to everybody, please.
That's my job. I'll do it. Okay, so we are at a pretty interesting place because, as I mentioned, we have a new ag commissioner. Our old ag commissioner actually got a position at the Department of Pesticide Regulation. Like the DPR, like created a job for him that has never been created before. We have always kind of been like this with the Monterey County Ag Commissioner and putting pressure on him to, you know, do things with his authority and to convince the DPR to do things with their authority. And then all of a sudden the DPR was like, yeah, we're taking you. And what we're thinking is that it might be kind of like a watchdog sort of role, like, okay, Eric Lauritsen, now your job is to keep an eye on the things happening in Monterey and in other areas where people want more protections and more regulations. But it's officially a County Agricultural Commissioner liaison position. So he's up at the DPR now. We have a new County Ag Commissioner, and what was left off when Eric Lauritsen left was this notification pilot project that he started. So for literally 2.5 years, we were pressuring Eric Lauritsen to start notifying Monterey County schools of pesticide applications ahead of time. This is something that happens in Santa Cruz County already. Santa Cruz County, the biggest crop is strawberries, and they use pesticides called fumigants for strawberries. And so the schools, every single school in Santa Cruz County, like schools in Watsonville, they get 5 days notification ahead of time if there's going to be a fumigation within a quarter mile of their schools. There are 3 schools in the Pajaro Valley School District that are in Monterey County, and the rest of the Pajaro Valley School District schools are in Santa Cruz County. So those teachers actually kind of notified us to the fact that their counterparts over at Santa Cruz County schools were getting this notification, but they weren't. And the schools that are in Monterey County are actually the schools that are most surrounded by fields in Pajaro and Las Lomas. And that made us realize, hey, there are districts all over Monterey County that aren't getting notified. So we pushed him to make this notification project, and he created what, you know, he got a lot of media attention, and it was looked at as the best thing for pesticide protection in the entire state. And he got a bunch of money from the state to do it, like $70,000. And they made this website where people could go on and sign up for alerts for these notifications, and the 3 Monterey County schools that the pilot project was going to start at were supposed to start getting 5 days notification, and then he left. And the website never got published, and it hasn't been completed. So what we have continued to demand is that this pilot project continue and not only start but expand to other schools throughout Monterey County, because there's schools in Salinas, there are schools in Greenfield that deserve to know just as much as those 3 schools in North Monterey County. So that is something that we're really going to begin our relationship with Henry Gonzalez with, is, hey, there was this project that was left off when your predecessor left, and we really need you to continue this, to expand it to all Monterey County schools. We're also at an interesting point with the state where they've released, can I wait till after?
Yep.
Where they've released their rules for pesticide use in your schools, and there's this notification aspect to it, where schools that have fields within a quarter mile that apply pesticides are going to get this list every year. By April 30th of every year, schools will receive this list through this online web portal that the Department of Pesticide Regulation has created, that shows every chemical that growers intend to apply for that following year period. So we don't have any county notification going on, but the state is like, hey, we're going to give schools this list of all the chemicals. It's not like 5 days before the application, it's just once a year. And you know, even though it's not 3 days before the application, there still would be benefits to schools receiving this list, because then we could know, okay, the schools that are receiving this list are obviously impacted by ag. What chemicals are they being exposed to? We can look, we can research the chemicals, we can make fact sheets and reach out to these schools, establish relationships, etc. And the fact that they would know that or what they're being exposed to would be great in and of itself. But what we just found out is that this list is actually housed in this online portal that requires a password to enter, and only one assigned school site administrator is going to get access to this. So that means that what we thought was going to be like this public list is just going to be this, that one person has a password to it. And we were like, okay, well, at least, you know, that person could then get it and then share it to everybody. But then we just found out that the interim ag commissioner just emailed me and Cesar from the Labor Council and said, hey, can you help us reach out to schools? Because only 11 schools have signed up to get their password in the entire county. So schools aren't even seeing this, or they're not signing up for it, and they're not going to get the information. 11 out of, like, I think almost 200 schools.
Are we there?
So we, you know, this isn't something we cannot obviously spend. How many people are in this room? Like 20 people? We can't spend our energy going to every single school and saying, hey, you're supposed to sign up and get this password and then send it to everybody else. So what we have decided to do is just go to the DPR directly and say, hey, we see that this isn't working. The schools aren't signing up. Your system is failing. You really need to make this all public. So I mentioned the position that we're at with the county, you know, wanting to expand on this pilot notification project, and then the position that we're at with the state, wanting them to make this annual list public so that anybody can see it, and it's not stuck in the email of some administrator that's never going to look at it. So I decided to write this letter that is directed not only to the DPR but to the County Agricultural Commissioner, our new guy, and I was thinking that I could hand deliver it to him when I meet with him next week. So basically, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to print it out because I just wrote it, but it says, you know, we're calling on DPR to immediately make that information from the Cal School Notify website publicly accessible, and we're also calling on the Monterey Agricultural Commissioner to extend the 5-day pilot notification project to all schools in the county. And so I thought that it would be great to have our co-chairs of our SASS and Greenfield branch sign it, but then I was like, no, actually I think everybody should sign it. So I have these signature sheets. So if you would like to sign this letter that I'm going to turn into the Monterey County Ag Commissioner next week and email to the Department of Pesticide Regulation, here's the sign-up sheet. And if you want to take a better look at the letter, let me zoom out so that we can see more of it.
It's also in the package, no?
No, I didn't make it. I'm sorry, guys. That was my fault.
You can also, when you send out the notes, you can also...
Yeah, I'll send the letter out.
Well, I ain't gonna sign anything if it says quarter mile. If it don't say a quarter mile, I'm still not gonna sign it. It's gotta say specifically over a quarter mile. I'll take anything. That's the first thing, because they lied to us. They lied to us on purpose. They hired this guy as well. Yes, he did. And they lied to us intentionally with the intent to make us feel that they're doing the right thing, which is they did the right thing, but they lied to us in the fact that they're giving us something. They gave us this quarter mile thing, and that's already been there. They just never enforced it. So what did they give us?
Nothing.
David? Okay, thank you. Second, now, they hired this guy. They moved him, my opinion, they hired him to move him to the state level so that they could do what? Same thing he did over here. Delay us another 10 years. All right? So now it's 20 years. If we've already been fighting this thing to be able to get this on there, it's been on there years now, and now they're going to give it to us, and then we sit there all happy celebrating for another 10 years. That means 20 years gone by and nothing's improved. Meanwhile, the chemicals are getting deadlier.
Juan, let me clarify.
The number one thing, if I could just, number one thing is the notices. That is the issue, the notices. It doesn't matter what you spray, it really doesn't, because we've been fighting these battles since DDT, you could call it whatever you want, it's killing people. We need to be notified. That's really, I mean, the pesticide signs, it doesn't say what pesticide, it just says, hey, they sprayed it, stay out. That's what we want, because otherwise we're gonna file nickel and dime this thing for the rest of our lives, and people are gonna die around us, and it's not good. And Henry's pretty open to it, and I think he wants to make a statement, and having a farm worker background that he does, I think it's something we should really push him on. And I mean push him on, don't just greet him, hey, we worked well with this guy, we want to work well with you. That guy, we should be outraged that they did this,
Protest.
And the other thing,
Make a point.
the other thing about getting the word out, we really need to be, and instead of going to the, I do believe we should be talking to the state about the bigger issue throughout the entire state, right? Which is what you said, instead of going school district by school, because they haven't done anything. I think we should do both. Let's go school by school, because if you really think about it, down here, how many school districts are down here when you look at Greenfield, King City, and South, right? 4 or 5? That's it, right? I mean, they're involved with ag. We're not talking, Jalón and those guys. We're just talking about those, and not even Mission, because Mission's up the hill. We're talking about just the ones in the valley, because they're affected, right? There's two big ones, King and Green. Then we're talking Gonzales, Soledad. I mean, these are districts. They're not. We don't go to each school. We go to the school district. The outside school district has what, 70 schools? We just go to one meeting, and it's done that way. So it's, if we commit ourselves to divide ourselves up, we could do this between now and next whatever it is that we want to do. March even. Whenever next board meetings are.
The point is to use it as a strategy to make the information public, rather than pushing for it to be just in hands of one administrator.
Right.
That's right, yeah, make it public. This makes it public when you go to all the schools, that's one thing. Makes it all public to every elected official. Elected officials don't know that this is on the table. They don't know because the superintendents don't tell them. I know, I used to be a superintendent, a trustee. So I know what they feed you and what they don't. And this is that kind of stuff they don't feed you, because they don't want to deal with it. Because the minute they give you anything, if you're a good-minded person, you're going to start asking questions about it. Really? How can we do that here? Well, then you got the guys involved with that, they're figuring it out. But they don't want to do that. Believe me, they don't want to do that. We've been here long enough. I'm telling you, you guys down here in South County, you all know this. We all grew up here. You know the bullshit. That's all it is. And you guys are well-meaning, but you don't live down here, and you don't know that we have to push the button on these guys. We have to. Because this is BS what they did. For all these years, they're giving us back the same empty plate. And we're saying thank you. That's the insult that I feel. And it's not right. And we're all happy celebrating. Come on.
So maybe we could start organizing and going to...
Oh, that's a good idea.
Let's plan it right now.
Maybe we should.
You're going to lead us?
Hey, Gonzales, look at Gonzales wants to get rid of his superintendent. They have 300 people there at meetings. We go there with just half of this group passing out literature. Now you got 300 parents who know what the heck's going on in Greenfield and all the great news. And how come they can't do that? They can't do that because their superintendent that they want to fire manipulates that school board. That's when the school board doesn't do anything and is doing everything that the superintendent wants. They do that in every school. Hard Knock College was the same thing. We have to threaten and fire and go on strike. So I'm just telling you, it's honestly the truth. And we're going to have a new ag commissioner. We have to introduce him with a big, nice big teeth so he understands, hey, we're welcoming you. Don't get us mad. We're your friend. You're our friend. You work for us. You work with ag, but you work for the public. And this other lady too. She works for us. They do. Come on.
Yeah. No, they're public officials.
We're trying to be nice so they would listen to us.
Thanks, Juan.
Sorry.
No, I think that you just solidified and reiterated that we do need to go to the school boards. And
Every single one.
I think Soledad and Gonzales are our first step.
They keep them ignorant, and they love it that way. And they play to the tune on whatever's on the agenda, and they make sure our stuff is not on the agenda. And your sister is proof.
Yeah.
What they did to her, they do that all the time, everywhere. Everywhere. And they'll tell you, oh, we can't rock the system. Those guys give money to all these special ed classes and the football team. My God, you're going to have everybody against you. Really? Let's bring it on. Let's see if that's true. You want their money or you want your kids poisoned?
True.
Oh, well, go ahead and poison my kid. I'll take the money. That ain't going to happen. So let's not be fooled with their BS, please. And we got to make sure that other people see the strength of the reality and the fact that if they don't move, there's consequences. Sorry.
I don't. No, thanks. And I do, yeah. I do want to clarify that before the state regulation of a quarter-mile, buffer zone where drought-prone pesticides couldn't be applied during school hours. Before that, the Monterey County had 500 feet. And I don't know what was before that, but 500 feet to a quarter mile is an improvement. It is. And the reason that we asked for a mile was because we knew they wouldn't give us what we wanted, and a quarter mile was what was, backed up by science and really on the public agenda at the moment. So we said, let's ask for a mile, and we'll get a quarter mile, and that's exactly what happened. For those of us that were, not me, but for those of us that were at those meetings at the very beginning when this 2014 Department of Public Health study came out, and it was talking about pesticide use within a quarter mile, I know that SASS at first was like, we need quarter mile buffer zones. We need to go to the ag commissioners and ask for quarter mile buffer zones. And then I think very fast we realized, no. We need to ask for a mile. And that's what started the Mile Buffer Zone campaign. And so getting a quarter mile, that distance is great. What we really need to fight on is the timing. 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, that's bullshit.
24
It needs to be
hours.
full time because we know that these pesticides drift, they move around, they stick in the environment, on the soil, in the air, on the toys at the preschool, everywhere.
You gotta hose them down.
Just like
That's a great
Trustee
phrase. Hose them
Smith
down.
said.
Hose them down.
So, Sally, I'm going to follow up with you about Soledad. And Juan, I'll follow up with you about Gonzalo so we can pull some strings, talk to some people hopefully.
Next, last meeting, we had a whole gymnasium full of people.
300 people, that's a crowd. That's amazing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that would be a
Huge.
good amount of people to get on our side.
What's the superintendent's?
Gonzalez, I want to get rid of superintendent.
It's still Liz Marie. What do you?
Yeah, that one. Yes, yeah. She's been there 10 years or so. That one.
So I always promise hour-and-a-half long meetings, and they always turn into 2-hour meetings.
Thank you.
But
Lots of information.
yeah, that's all that I have on the agenda. But I do want to make sure that everyone has a chance to say any last burning comments or ask any final questions. So let's do one more round around the room. And again, say your name just because we are a new group and we need to at least know people's names so we can start doing some stuff. So I will start. Lucia Calderon, I'm so thankful for everybody being here tonight. I love the passion. I love the fury. This is where good things happen, the sparks of the fury. That's how things get changed. So I'm really excited for next month. Our next meeting is going to be Friday, April 20th. Do your fun stuff at home. Don't bring it here. Thanks. Erica.
Hi everyone. I'm very happy to be here, and I really appreciate to see your passion and learning from all of you as I learned from Lucia. And thank you for letting me translate for you a couple of times.
You can use your board meeting to translate.
And hello everyone, Mayra Sanchez, a PhD student from UC Davis, and very excited to be learning with you and from you, so thank you for having me here.
David Kong from CSEA, Complex School Police Association. Glad to be here, and I know I've been reading about the county supervisors are having meetings throughout the county about what to do with money that they're getting from cannabis.
Yeah.
Maybe we could ask them for some of that money they're getting from cannabis to do some studies, or to help the community out. And so I know there's one in Salinas on Tuesday night at Martin Luther King School, 6 to 8. They also have one on Wednesday night here in King City. Maybe we could just have some of our members go there just to listen, and then have some, hey, if you could have many do some studies about,
They use pesticides, no?
Yeah, they use pesticide on the cannabis, right? They don't.
Cannabis has extremely strict pesticide regulations, which I think should be extended to all kinds of crops. But there is a list of chemicals that they can use, and like a very, very, very long list of chemicals that they can't.
That's why they're concerned too, because of the drifts.
Yes, and chemicals that are used right now on the fields.
Yeah.
They're not going to be used in the greenhouses.
Thank you.
Oh, me. Beatriz Diaz, community member. When Yaneli told me about the pesticide here, I was like, you know. But then the more I thought about it, my dad passed away in '89, and as a child I can remember a lot of pesticides, grabbing a taco on his way because, you know, they had to work from sun up to sundown. So I'm learning a lot. One of my grandkids, you know, I think that the doctors won't say, you know, it has something to do with chemicals, you know, on the behavioral issue, the headaches, you know, etc. They do go to Vista Verde. So, you know, just seeing the map where all that chemical is on there, you know, it's scary. It's scary for all our children. I have a grandson. Yaneli's son got sick with asthma. My grandson had a little bit of, you know, asthma. I went and I picked him up. Had I let him stay there, maybe he would have been in the same situation as Yaneli's son. So I'm really glad that I'm learning a lot on this, you know. I can help my neighbors, you know, family members, you know. So thank you, Lucia, especially you, you know, that you brought a lot of great information. And thank you for inviting me, Yaneli.
Irene Garcia, community member. It is really good to know about the pesticides. I know growing up, we worked the fields also. We used the short hoe. I know that they used to spray the fields right next to the fields that we were working in. My mother consequently got very ill, and due to the pesticides, but you know, at that point they didn't really, I guess, have all the studies. But you know, I don't like knowing the fact that they're too close to the schools, especially when they're young kids, being susceptible to their bodies because they're so young and they're still growing. Sometimes I wonder about some of the youths because I work with them, and just the way they interact or how their actions with their bodies and stuff. It makes me wonder if they have anything to do with pesticides in their system, because their attention span is so low, you know, and they're so hyper sometimes too. So I don't know, but I'm glad I'm being informed.
My name is Ruby, and I'm a parent of two. And it concerns me too because my daughter is also a Vista student. My sister works there. She's been there for 4 years, and I mean, and she's really close to the area where they spray. So I mean, everybody there. I mean, oh my gosh, and it's like the kids can get sick. I mean, that's why we have that effect. I mean, our kids with asthma, who knows what they can get. They could probably stay in the system for, I don't know, how long. And you never know if their kids can become affected with the chemical and everything. So, hopefully they'll be taken care of by those big people over there.
Fabiola, Fabi. I work with the community, and I would like to make myself available. I live in King City and work with the high school at times, so you know, if that's needed at this time, with some guidance, I can do my part, as well as Greenfield. Yeah, just the lack of basic human kindness and concern with these bigger, you know, businesses. That's pretty frustrating. So. And just knowing that my brother still attends a school and he grew grew out of his allergies, but he had some pretty bad allergies when he was about a year old. And the doctors did specifically mention that it was due to the pesticides in the area. So I know my dad had fought with some issues at that time. I was too young to really understand, but I knew it was because of the pesticides. I definitely want to make myself available to help in any way that I can. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Moran, by United Farm Workers. And the first time Lucia invited me to these meetings, I told in 1988, Cesar almost lost his life. He has a request for 36th day. And I have video, but the niche is VHS. I tried to make in a DVD, but I have all VCR. I don't know if this TV works, but maybe next time.
I'll help you with it.
Oh, yes.
I'll work it out.
Oh,
you could transfer.
I'll change it over.
You can transfer over, that's right. We got the right person. Yes.
Sweet, let's get it. We'll have it for next meeting.
Yeah, and
What year was the move? Was that move?
that we call who was no, or
Oh,
not
that
names.
one. Okay.
Yeah, and is video. You can see children without arms and legs.
Oh, wow.
Wow, my God. Yeah, maybe next time I'm going to.
Great.
Say in the special this video explain like all this around the schools for the children, and it's this the video happened in 1988, and how many years? Like 30 years.
30
and
years.
we in the same
30 years.
issue. That's why I don't understand what.
Yes.
What's happening. Yeah.
Pero sí se puede.
Yeah.
Pero se puede, ¿verdad?
Yeah.
No perdemos la lucha, se
Well,
puede.
yeah, because at that time, thanks to that, first the government quitó a few more dangerous chemicals.
Sigo. Yaneli Martínez. Ay, ya, ¿qué digo? Estoy entre dos leyendas aquí. Siento acá la fuerza de los dos lados. Estábamos platicando, Juan Manuel y yo, que por qué no vamos y alborotamos el gallinero en King City. Con Ana Vargas todavía está de board member. Allá hay donde están más los rancheros, pero we could go ahead and do that. I mean, ya estoy cambiándome el otro idioma. We could go ahead and do that. Let's stir the pot. Ana Vargas is there as a board member. We might not get all the votes, but at least we're being out there. We're being vocal in a civil manner. Let's make it happen. I was just kind of thinking that, like, let's take advantage of our resources when Fabi was talking about King City. And we have Fabi, help us out. Let's make it happen, and yeah, it's a struggle that has been passed down from generations to generations, and these two legends and Beatriz working with Cesar Chavez and trying to move this forward. I think we need to continue that so the cycle stops here, and so our future leaders, our Generation Z, which is Victor and our future council members that are here present, they're not going to have to deal with that. They're going to kind of have to just clean the environment where we leave them behind, but hopefully this stops here. So that's what I wanted to say.
Great. I think it's a great opportunity this coming election in June to squeeze these candidates.
Ask questions.
Ask some hard questions, particularly about pesticides
Sure.
and its effect regarding issues that involve us and concern us, and just to see how they answer, you know, and then let it be the way it is. But it gives us good training for the November election, which is the school board elections.
Yeah.
Thereby, we'll be able to set up for those school board elections, be able to get the candidates that we want on those school boards, which then become the future supervisors and stuff. But our bottom line is to help these kids, right? And they're all, you know, if we care about, you know, automatic weapons hurting schools, Look at it, it's automatic. Look at all the tons, hundreds of thousands of tons sprayed in your schools.
Right.
If that doesn't affect, and it's poison.
Yes.
You know, pesticidas matan. That's why they make them. Thank you.
Carlos Vega, I be a ARP volunteer for community a long time ago. When you're talking about all these buffer zones, I remember I was my grandparents' committee for the county. And one day, Mr. Nancy Katowski is coming to our meeting talking about the Santa Rita, because Santa Rita school is surrounded from the fields.
Yeah.
I got a good news for you. Now the buffer zone is 100 feet, 150 feet. And the bus is 50. Now it's 150. It's a huge victory.
Wow.
I asked him at this time, I can't no mile, I can't no 10, I can't no 100 miles. I know being involved, I know being knowledge what is happening when all these pesticides is strong. Now I suffer the consequences because I be applicator in my job. I work in this company. It's a $1 billion company, Kendall Jackson. I be in the sick absence, but now I had a problem with my lungs. I had problems with my skin. I had problems with my throat. I had problems with my eyes. It's not related to the common age health problems. It's related to the job that I do. I'm very concerned now what's going on with our kids. Too many kids is coming to the street, holding a gun and shooting in the head. No matter what's going on. They're very concerned about the weed, the cannabis, about all these things. It's very dangerous for our kids. It's very dangerous for our future. What's going on in this town? So many times I ask him, Salinas, what you doing for San County? Because I see you only here in Salinas. I never see you go to the south. I'm very concerned, and this good news to somebody take advantage to this board to make an arrangement to protect our kids. This is good. But this is the start of what is safe crime. I have to wait in around 10, 20 years to be possible. No, it's time to work. It's time to approach all the community. It's time to working together. I don't matter who I am, what did you call it, where you think, what is your religion, whatever you are, we just have to work together. And another thing is, it make clearly on the board in the school is a policy in the county to keep videotaping all the meetings. This is county order. I don't know, Mrs. Cante, the president for the boards, don't know nothing about it. I don't know. But I have to take care of what he's doing, because I come in to see him, take the seat, I look nice, I make a report, smile, todo. Sí, sonriente aquí a todo el mundo, a toda madre aquí, estamos bien. But what's going on? I make a promise to the community to do a job for your kids and being prepared for the future in the school. I'm sorry.
Señor Peña, los CDs sí se hacían recorded on the school board at the district.
Cobraban a Beatriz.
Yeah, they used to record them. Nomás nomás llegó Doc, se acabó todo.
¿Cuánto te cobraban?
Huh?
¿Cuánto te cobraban?
$5. Really? They put out $5 for a CD.
the voice recording, whether or not they turn on the microphone or not.
Yeah, and I got a lot of those CDs, but I used to pay $5 for them.
Well,
And as soon as that came in, they
He
took
says,
them out.
yes, I have to do something in the board. But I have to do it.
There's
with
no
it.
minutes either, so it's your word against theirs if you want to bring something up on another meeting.
Wow.
And I got shut down and violated a lot of the Brown Act.
The selection years? Okay.
All right, let's make sure that we have a couple people that haven't finished up yet.
So, my name is Celia. I actually randomly just met Lucia online because I got very angry being at home one summer and my son was outside playing and I saw that they were spraying the grapes. And I looked at the time and I thought that that was an inappropriate time for them to spray. And most especially when I wasn't notified. And so I put in an email, started researching. And then after a while I started getting even more angry because I started thinking of my childhood. And you know, my father suffered many allergies. He was allergic to the sun, I mean, the list goes on. And he now lives in Mexico, and my dad doesn't suffer anymore. He doesn't have any allergies. When he comes to visit, they come up. And I started thinking about how naive I was growing up, and how I would go and drink the water from the pipes as it was flowing and getting the water. And all of my sisters and I had reproductive issues, and we couldn't get pregnant. We had problems. And I'm very blessed to have one child, but that's all I could have. And I really think it's because of the pesticides. That's why.
Let me jump in the picture.
Hi, my name is Wes. I'm usually a director, but sometimes I'm an actor. I'm in Salinas. You know, what I really love about this is that we're worried about people. We're not trying to make money off of this. The whole point of this meeting is health, human safety, real safety, not just in words. We had this meeting in Salinas called Moving Salinas Valley Forward, and I really want to try to perpetuate that, some kind of humanist, people first, people power party type of thing, where we can make a slate, we can overpower school boards and city councils, just because we're putting people first. And you know, the ramp up for June is one thing, but the real meat and potatoes is going to be the November. If you really want your voice to be heard, we have to be involved. Find people, just make a litmus test of the most progressive things that are out there, which includes the pesticide stuff. I mean, the established gyms don't go very far, and you know, we need to start fighting for ourselves, I think, and the mentality, the patriotism of what we think America's supposed to be. It's not just saluting to a flag or, you know, thank you for your service. It's sticking up for the little person, the people who are vulnerable, the people who are already getting hurt. That's what we're looking for as a litmus test. I mean, I think most of it's already available. It's just a matter of finding people willing to sacrifice, like grandmas, and you know, it's going to end up being retired people because who else can afford it? I mean, I'm doing it. I'm working for free. I've been doing it for 4 years, but it's a lot of sacrifice to ask of a person. But that's what we need: is the heart and drive, and desire to make better choices, not just, well, these are my friends, so you know, I need my campaign money or anything like that. I mean, we need to be people first, and definitely the ones that we're not even thinking about, our friends of strangers who we don't even know yet. That's who we need to be looking out for.
Thank you, Wes. All right, thank you, everybody. One more? Dred, do you have any comments?
Oh, I'm a photographer.
Okay, thank you.